Joining me now, Los Angeles County Deputy Public Defender Philip Dube. Philip, you listened to that testimony that we were just watching together, and it really sounds like the defense is trying to say it's not her fault, that there was a dangerous area where the officer was working, we know from previous testimony, and they weren't wearing vests, et cetera, et cetera. Is that an effective strategy in your opinion?
100%. And I'll tell you why, Ashley. In addition to proving intoxication and that a death occurred, they have to prove that she was, in fact, the legal cause. In other words, they can show that but for her intoxication and driving, he may have lived, but they also have to show that she was the legal cause, the proximate cause of his death. And if there were contributing factors such as conditions on the highway, flooding, sewage splattering in the windshield, stuff beyond her control that even somebody who's tipsy behind the wheel could have avoided or, would have gotten home safe without wiping out and killing somebody, then they're not the proximate cause of the death. In essence, you are conceding intoxication. In essence, you are conceding driving, but that you're not the cause of the death.
And this jury, I think, is a lot to consider to make that exact determination. One of the things I really appreciated about this defense attorney is that he did use his demonstrative aids, and they were not just renditions of what might have happened, but in addition to the photos that prosecution had introduced, he had one of the barricades in with the light on it. He had a measuring device and talking about the amount of beer or liquid. He really, I think, pulled in the jury, and there's a picture of exactly what he had in the courtroom. And so I think this makes a difference for a jury to be able to see, touch, smell, so to speak, as I like to say. The actual evidence in the case only helps them, in my opinion, reach a just verdict.
Exactly. And it's so rare that we are able to accurately recreate the scene. And it looks like that's what they're trying to do. I mean, even a sober person could have wiped out like this. Let's just pretend that all she really had was, an Arnold Palmer, and an order of onion rings and just kicked it with some friends at that bar. This could have happened to anybody. It's just a tragedy. And unfortunately, she had alcohol in her system, and the victim is a peace officer, and there's public outcry for justice.
Well, let me push back on that a little bit, because I agree with everything you just said. But I think, too, sometimes it's what happens next that makes all the difference, because we know what happened next was she did not turn herself in immediately. She did not go to the police and say, I had an accident, I don't know what happened. But she did not stop to see what happened, to render aid, if that would be helpful. She fled. Not only did she flee, she didn't turn herself in until 2 days later. And so I think that is not helpful to any defendant in any set of facts.
Oh, no, it's very damaging. But to be quite candid with you, I'd rather go down on a hit and run than on a murder rap, to be frank. Listen, one of the reasons why people flee when they get into a wreck is, oftentimes it's because they have a warrant. They don't have car insurance. And of course, in this case, it could have been that she was 3 sheets to the wind and she didn't want to be held accountable for any type of crime because she was under the influence. Unfortunately, if she would have just pulled over, even though she hit that officer, I have a hunch that prosecutors would not have filed a murder. I believe in my heart they would have maybe filed a vehicular manslaughter, which carries a fixed term rather than a life term.
Okay, let me just stop you there, Philip. We see they're back in court. Let's go back live.